Starting today, I've decided to support Amy and Olivia.
Next to my husband Scott, who returned home, was my sister-in-law and her child. My husband Scott arbitrarily decided to support them, prioritizing my sister-in-law and her child over me and our daughter. I've had enough. It's time for me to turn the tables and leave him. This is a story of how I got revenge on the worst sycophantic Scott. My name is Emily. It's been 5 years since I married Scott. Scott and I have a daughter, Luna, who is now 4 years old. Our daughter, who was born soon after our marriage, is very lovely and a treasure of ours. Scott and daughter are my cherished family. Or maybe I was the only one who thought so. One day, I was making curry with my daughter while waiting for Scott to come home. "Mom, won't Dad come back if he has power?" Dad is late today. I wonder what happened. Normally, Scott, who should return straight home, hasn't come back even after 7:30 p.m. on this day. No response with calls or messages. "Mom, I'm hungry." "You're right. Okay, let's eat without him today." After finishing the meal with my daughter and cleaning up, Scott finally returned. "Welcome home." "Wait, huh?" Next to Scott were my sister-in-law, her daughter, and an abundance of luggage for some reason. "Scott, what the hell is going on?" In a situation I couldn't comprehend, he started saying something outrageous.
From today, I've decided to support Amy and Olivia at home.
Huh? Support them? These two? I don't understand. Couldn't you have said something before bringing them here? My head couldn't catch up with the unexpected development. I managed to squeeze out some words. Support? Why all of a sudden? I haven't heard anything about it.
It was decided abruptly, so what can you do? Amy had a fight with her husband, and that's why I got a call.
Support? But specifically until when? We don't have extra rooms in our apartment. I expressed my concern indirectly, but my husband seems indifferent.
Just lend your room.
Huh? Mine?
If you move to Luna's room, then there should be enough space for Amy and Olivia.
What the hell is that? My husband casually forces me to endure. I can't understand why I should endure the inconvenience. I really don't understand. With a big smile on his face, my husband invited his sister and her daughter in, and gently told them both,
From today on, make yourself at home here.
Without so much as a sorry to bother you, the two of them barged into the house. They promptly sat on the sofa and started watching TV. I pulled my husband aside and questioned him in a hushed voice. What do you mean by suddenly deciding to support these two? Our house doesn't have the space for it. Scott sighed and gave me a displeased look.
Come on, can't you? Amy's in trouble. How can you be so indifferent? Don't you think you should at least consider helping her out a little?
No, it's not that. I don't mind them staying at our place for a while, but supporting them is different, isn't it? At least they should contribute to the food expenses.
What? Are you a miser too? Amy doesn't work, so obviously it's impossible.
This is ridiculous.
I don't care about your opinion. My important sister is in trouble. As the head of the household, I've decided to support her, so you should just follow it quietly.
With that, he started playing games with his sister and niece. Moreover, the curry I had saved for tomorrow was eaten up by my husband, sister-in-law, and her child.
Make something more nutritious for my niece.
He criticized me while pampering his sister's daughter. Had he ever thought about the nutrition in the meals for his own daughter? He was so kind to his sister's happy niece. But what about my daughter? My husband completely took his sister's side, ignoring my opinions. Instead, he treated me, who was concerned about living expenses, as stingy. Can't contribute to food expenses because she doesn't work? That's not something new. Even if they're in trouble, our house doesn't have the capacity to support them for free indefinitely. The next day, and the day after that, my husband pampered only his sister and niece, not even sparing a glance for me and our daughter.
Amy, I bought her cake because you said you wanted one.
Oh, Scott, thank you.
There was a toy of Olivia's favorite cartoon, so I couldn't resist getting it.
Wow, thanks, Uncle.
The cake is only for my sister and niece, and of course, the toy is solely for my niece.
My daughter and niece are about the same age. I think that my daughter is young enough to want cakes and toys. However, just a little more patience. If my sister-in-law and her husband make up, they will leave this house. And then, our family life will return. That's what I told myself, somehow controlling my anger. Then one day, my daughter said to me, "Mom, does Dad like Olivia more than me?" "Huh?" "Because he's always kind to Olivia. Dad doesn't respond when I talk to him." Saying that, my daughter had tears in her eyes. Feeling indescribable emotions, I hugged my daughter tightly. "It's okay, because Luna's dad is Papa." Even though I managed to defuse the situation at that moment, things couldn't continue like this. Later, I approached my husband, urging him to make changes. "Luna is feeling lonely. It's fine to show affection to Olivia, but please, pay attention to Luna as well."
Huh? Fine, I get it. It's annoying.
Annoying? We have our own child, right? It's not Olivia, okay?
Yeah, I get it. Luna can entertain herself, right?
Despite conveying my daughter's feelings to my husband, the situation didn't improve easily. My daughter looked at my husband, who was happily playing with my niece, with sad eyes. However, my sister-in-law didn't take the place of my husband in caring for my daughter. My husband and sister-in-law were always focused on Olivia. I was the only one who cared about my daughter, but she still seemed somewhat lonely. By the time a month had passed since we moved in together, our lives were in shambles. Although I was barely making ends meet, my sister-in-law and niece had their way, and no matter how much I cleaned, the rooms were a mess, and I never had a moment to relax. I couldn't endure this life any longer. Finally, I approached my husband and brought up the conversation. "I've had enough. Seriously, think about what we are going to do in the future."
What's gotten into you all of a sudden?
We've been talking about this for a while, haven't we? Our living conditions are getting tougher. And what about Amy and her daughter? You're not thinking of living together forever, right?
It can't be helped, right? She's still having issues with her husband.
Then, you should either divorce or have a serious talk, right? It's been a month already. I've reached my limit. Please, consider the feelings of our family. Having such a conversation was sure to put my husband in a bad mood. Yet, for the sake of my daughter and the future of our family, it was crucial to have a proper discussion. Luna loves you a lot, you know. If her beloved dad is being overly kind to other kids, of course she will feel upset. I strongly conveyed our daughter's feelings more than mine. Considering he's a father, I thought if he understood how lonely our daughter must be, surely he'd change his attitude. However, What came out of my husband's mouth were unexpected words.
Amy is my sister. Your family is particularly the same. So why can you say such cruel things? You're inhuman.
Inhuman? Me? Suddenly hearing incomprehensible words, my thought came to a halt. I don't particularly dislike my sister-in-law and her daughter. I just felt that if the current situation continued, I needed to address it. Yet, my husband spoke as if I were the villain.
I've thought this for a while. You're cold. I know Amy is in trouble, and Olivia is lonely and separated from her father, so I have to take care of her. You've got your daughter with you, so you deal with it.
Wait a minute. Even though I covered all the expenses for our life, why do Luna and I have to endure this? If we are contributing to the household budget, it means it's also coming from my salary, right?
It's obvious, isn't it? Amy is my sister. In other words, for you, who is my wife, she's family. Yet you're always saying such cold things. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?
Raising his voice, my husband attacked me unilaterally, asserting that his life and Amy's life are important. He stared at me with cold eyes. To my disbelief, he even uttered words that were hard to believe.
Amy says she wants to continue living like this, and from now on, the two of us will support them. We will take care of everything, including meals and living arrangements.
At that moment, the faint hope I had clung to was instantly shattered. The idea that if we talked, he might understand, or that our previous life might return, now seemed utterly foolish. I looked straight at my husband and spoke. Fine. Then we'll get a divorce.
Huh?
My husband wore an unbelievably foolish expression, as if he couldn't comprehend my statement. After a brief silence, he stared directly at me.
Divorce? What are you suddenly talking about? It's a joke, right?
I wouldn't joke about something like this, would I? If you're going to ignore my feelings, then I won't consider yours either. I will only do what I think is best for Luna and our happiness. It seems he hadn't anticipated the idea of divorce being brought up. Provokingly, he challenged me with an indifferent attitude.
Huh? What are you talking about? Divorce? There is no way you can raise Luna by yourself, right?
Certainly. Raising the child alone would be tough, but it's much better than continuing this life.
If you are going to say that, then file for divorce. I will sign it. But if you later say, I don't want a divorce after all, it will be too late.
Did he think I would refuse? I took out the green paper I had prepared and handed it to him with a pen. Presented with the divorce papers, my husband froze, continuing to glare at me without making any effort to fill it out. What's wrong? You said you'd willingly write it, right?
No.
Clearly flustered, I forced the pen into his hand. Come on, sign it. You said you would sign it, didn't you?
No, that was just a joke.
Huh? A joke? You said it's late to say later that you still don't want a divorce. You talk a big game, but in the end, you don't want to get divorced.
Shut up! Fine. I will sign it if that's what you want.
Having signed his section, he thrust the paper toward me.
There, it's signed. Now there's no room for complaints, right? Now get out. You're in the way.
I calmly say back to him, No, you're the one who is leaving.
What?
What is not the right response? Did you forget that this apartment is contracted under my name?
Oh.
Also, ever since you started supporting your beloved sister, even though you put in money, it wasn't enough, and I covered everything. And you still wanted to continue living here? Are you stupid? Are you okay? At that moment, a voice shouted from behind. Hey, what's going on? My sister-in-law ran over to my husband and grabbed his collar. Scott, what on earth is going on? You said we would always stay here, right? Was it a lie?
Amy, it's not like that.
Don't lie. I trusted you to keep us at home forever. I don't get it. Why are you being kicked out of your own house?
I didn't expect things to get this bad.
What? Make things work out with your own wife.
What did you say?
Frustrated with the pointless quarrel between the foolish siblings, I threw their luggage out of the entrance. Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing? My sister-in-law approached me, but now that I've decided on the divorce, I have no obligation to treat her kindly. I'm just moving your belongings outside. Or rather, isn't this trespassing? Can you leave soon? I spoke in a low voice, causing Amy to shiver and step back.
Hey, you don't have to throw our belongings out.
I turned to face my husband. Hey, can you leave soon? I no longer have any use for you.
You? How dare you say that to your own husband?
I'm not a wife anymore, but an ex-wife.
I didn't think you were such a cold person.
Too bad. You stepped on my landmine. If you like that child more than your own, why not live happily together at 3?
Where are we supposed to go if we live here? Are you planning to kick us out?
I don't know. Do whatever you want. Come on, leave already. I might as well call the police. Confirming the reluctant departure of my husband and sister-in-law, I closed the door of the house. I would probably never see them again. Glancing around the room, I noticed my daughter looking at me with a puzzled expression. Mom, where's Dad? Sorry, Luna. Is it okay if it's just me and you from now on? My daughter hesitated for a moment, showing a thoughtful expression, but quickly returned to a smile. All I need is you, Mom. If I'm with you, Mom, that's all that matters. I hugged my daughter tightly as she ran towards me. Even without a husband like that, we will be fine. I'm sure we can be happy together, just the two of us. Days later, I repeatedly explained the situation and returned my husband's family's belongings to his parents' house. As expected, my husband and sister-in-law seems to have returned to their parents' house. However, it seems they were kicked out and disowned by their furious parents. They are currently living in a small apartment, rented with my ex-husband's money. Well, if that's what they wished for, it's their problem. I learned later that the reason for the dispute between my sister-in-law and her husband was her spending habits. Now, her husband is demanding back the money she spent. I receive disgusting messages from my ex-husband almost every day.
I was wrong, so please forgive me. I love you and Luna the most. I want to go back to being a family.
Of course, I didn't respond to any of them. They went straight to the trash. My daughter doesn't want to see her father anymore, so there is no intention of meeting him. To avoid being forcibly confronted, I plan to move soon. For the sake of my daughter, I want to shower her with a lot of love. Even without a father, I hope she can find happiness in her life.